Okay, hi everyone. My name is Emily Rich. I am the Director of Startups for Asia Pacific for Microsoft. I am joined here today to interview one of our great startups out of our Highway to 100 Unicorns program. If you could just go ahead and introduce yourself, Jeff, and your company and what your startup does.
Yep. Hi. My name's Jeff. I'm the co-founder of SalesCandy. SalesCandy is a mobile app that solves the two biggest problems that sales and marketing operations face. After a potential buyer submits an inquiry, 70% of the time they do not receive a response from the sales team, right? And we enforce a context strategy, trace every sale, and pinpoint the ads that give you the best return without manual intervention. Basically, our algorithm distributes the lead to the right salesperson as it comes in and auto reroutes it to the next available salesperson in 25 seconds if it's not attended to. And so basically, our system is currently being used by large enterprises across 5 countries at the moment, which includes Fortune Global 500 companies.
What's been the impact, and what do you see as the impact of programs like Highway to 100 Unicorns to be on your country in Malaysia? What do you think the impact it has on driving economic growth?
Yeah, so essentially, I think we're specifically in the large enterprise segment, and so when we were joining this highway to 100 unicorns, we were hoping to get help with our go-to-market approach in Southeast Asia specifically, and also at other countries as well, kind of fine-tuning our messaging to our targeted local markets. So essentially, we've kind of identified our ideal customer profile to be kind of existing Microsoft Dynamics users, meaning they'd be meeting the company requirements of they specifically have large sales force and kind of needing to manage data internally to justify using SalesCandy. Yeah, so that's where however for us kind of navigating these customers has kind of been proven tricky, and of course with the help of highway to 100 unicorns, that's kind of made it a lot better.
Great. And you're already in 5, you're in 5 markets.
Yep.
What kind of plans of expansion do you have at the moment? And I know that we're talking a lot at the moment, internally with our Highway to 100 Unicorns participants about how we can help you with expansion plans and you already mentioned go to market. What are you seeing as your plans of expansion now in other markets, and how can Microsoft help?
Yeah, so since joining this program, so right now we have clients in Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, Taiwan, and Philippines. And so essentially we can cater to any clients around the world, as we've kind of built the tech stack to be able to cater to any demands even outside of Southeast Asia. So we've kind of learned a lot through Microsoft's large enterprise sales process, and so we're actually looking to deepen our integration further with Microsoft Dynamics for some of our clients. And of course, there's some very large pool of existing customers that we could potentially tap on as well on some of those existing Microsoft Dynamics users.
Great. And I mean, is that one of the areas that you see as sort of a next big growth opportunity for you? Or, just run me through maybe a little bit about, where you see your next big growth opportunity for your startup.
Yeah, so essentially, I think with with COVID in mind, it kind of accelerated a lot of our initiatives in the last 1 year itself. So at the end of last year, we recently set up our data science team at the end of 2020. So we're currently working towards a machine learning model on our routing algorithm, where we could predict sales a lot better and route to the salesperson with a higher chance of closing rate. Yeah.
And so do you think that COVID has affected your business and transformed your business for the better, or have you struggled in this environment? How has it affected you?
Yeah, so essentially, pre-COVID, we actually had offices in Malaysia, Indonesia, and Philippines. And so, kind of COVID has kind of fully transformed SalesCandy into a work remote environment. So prior to COVID, we've been practicing about 2 days work from home, right? And so the transition to a kind of a full work remote was pretty seamless for us. So right now, like what we do is we will ship our Candyholics, the onboarding gear, which consists of like some Candyholic swag, like the equipments like the MacBook and also like a work phone as well. So we do it all remotely now.
And have you've found that that's working for you? You haven't found any, I mean, I think that there's a bunch of people that are concerned around, productivity and connectedness to their teams and that sort of thing. Have you seen anything like that?
Yeah, so for us, I guess not partly because even before this, we've been kind of, as I mentioned before, like we've been kind of practicing a 2 day work from home. So we've already had some of the tools and we've kind of hired um, based on the right culture as well, right? So
Mm.
essentially, one of the key things that when we hire employees is based on the accountability and and so we didn't have really any issues in regards to working remotely and also and addressing, especially I think a lot of companies out there when they did this transition they had a lot of like KPIs and OKRs that were affected in the pipelines as well.
And yeah, and you feel like you weren't affected by that.
Yep, yep.
Yeah,
Of
that's
course, I
great.
think of course, like I feel like in the business side of things, of course, there's a big part of the processes that change for us, right? So essentially, pre-COVID, essentially, like, I mean, as a founder myself and some of my sales teams, we had to travel a lot within Southeast Asia, right, to meet clients, meet up with clients, and kind of pitch to them face to face. And suddenly with COVID, everything just transformed digitally and we could do it through Microsoft Teams. And essentially, I think within the first 2 months itself, we actually had our first closing where first sales closing where we didn't even meet the client in first in like in a a face-to-face environment. Yeah, so that was actually pretty interesting for us. We'd hope that more clients were closing this way though. Yeah.
Yeah, I hope so. I don't even remember what traveling feels like.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I'm hearing that a lot as well, is the closing now, closing big clients without even seeing them. And that's
Yeah.
just become the norm because everyone's had to adapt, right?
Yes.
So it's super interesting. And I love that you brought that up because I think that's happening to a lot of people. What are the sort of the biggest challenges that you're seeing that you face today, for SalesCandy?
I would say in terms of, so right now is one thing we're uh, cracking out right now is in terms of our sales process. So we're specifically in the large enterprise segment, right? Essentially, our clients, they do about 1 billion US dollar in revenue every year. So essentially the sales process tend to be very long, right? And
Mm.
our um, the time of acquiring some of these large clients takes roughly about 12 to about 18 months. So it's something that we're trying to learn from Microsoft in terms of how they structure some of the deals. And it's something that we're looking forward to actually streamline the whole process in terms of how we can um, structure the acquisition all the way to the upselling and increasing the lifetime value over time as well. Yeah.
Yeah, enterprise sales are long, and I think the procurement process is, also, where you can get stuck. I mean, I when I was running my company, it was definitely the the biggest thing was, getting through procurement, doing all of
Yep.
those things was just such a long process. And I was the same as you, selling into really large enterprises, Fortune
Mm.
500s. Um, and I think that sort of brings me to, my next question, which is around, what is your and I think you've kind of answered it. I think that we can help on the procurement side and those types of
Mm-hmm.
things. The business ambition that you have that you hope to achieve through Highway to 100 Unicorns and through being a Microsoft partner. What is that? What is your one major business ambition?
I guess the one of the major ambitions directly for SalesCandy itself is at the moment, in terms of like one of our largest clients, we're serving in about 4 countries at the moment. So of course, I do wish to see SalesCandy in being used by, let's say, all around the world,
Mhm.
especially in the targeted countries that we want to be in. Yeah. So basically, we've kind of built the tech stack um, from the ground up to be able to cater to um, any users around the world. So essentially, let's say, for example, if a global Fortune 500 company was present in multiple countries, we're able to adapt and serve them better as well.
And speaking of technology, what what are some of the key criteria for you when you make technology decisions for your company?
Yeah. So essentially for us, scalability is key for us. Most of our core technology stacks right now, I mean, all the way to our core database, is 100% serverless. As we serve the Southeast Asian market, we notice that we have redundancies where, especially during the wee hours, like in the like 12 a.m. all the way to about 6 a.m., where the servers we don't really have much usage from. It actually drops all the way down to 20%, and that's where serverless really um, benefits us a lot. So at its peak, let's say when our clients run digital campaigns, we could increase our serverless capacity by 300% automatically as well as usage increases. Yeah. So that's one thing that we're really tapping on is the serverless technology. Yeah.
Great. Yeah, I think it's great for scalability. I've heard that the also some of the other key decisions are obviously around cost, and that helps with that as well.
Hmm.
Obviously, being a startup, I think we need to keep costs down, and that's a great way of doing it. Um, the final sort of question I have is in your market, what are some of the key trends that you're seeing, and how are you addressing them?
Yeah. So I think essentially one thing that we saw as well is so when we first started, right, we've always been um, pitching the data in regards to the Harvard Business Review, where it actually talks about the customers still prefer to talk to a human being. And so what we found was that they still prefer to talk to a human being, I think especially for large ticket size items like cars, properties, life insurance. And so we're here to actually bridge that gap, right? And so using sales connect technology, when an inquiry gets submitted, we ensure that the inquiry gets attended to by a real human being within less than 15 minutes, and of course, like within working hours, of course. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, so are you seeing for some of those smaller ticket items that you can just use your your
Yeah. So
calls?
a lot of times for the smaller ticket items, generally the people just prefer to buy it online
Mm,
and prefer to deal with like a chatbot or a robo advisor. Whereas when let's say for example, when the check size typically goes above 10,000 US dollar, that's where
hmm.
they prefer to speak to a real human being. And we've seen this the same for a lot of Western markets and also in China as well, where a lot of the larger ticket size items are still being managed by agents.
Great. All right. Well, thank you so much. Thanks so much for talking to me today. And I mean, I know I've learned a lot, so I hope everyone else has too. But thank you so much, Jeff, and we'll keep in touch.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Right.
Thank you.
Thanks. Thanks.